Shut up. Real men don't cry, he said. I was just a 5-year-old boy. My dad got pissed off, but he controlled himself because we weren't able to find another doctor. Suddenly, the dentist became super sweet and told me to sit on the chair. While he was checking my mouth, he seemed kind of nervous, but he was also saying some jokes to my 7-year-old brother. My brother started laughing, and then what the dentist did almost made my heart drop. He screamed to my brother, "Stop laughing or I'll stop laughing or I'll take your brother's teeth out, one by one." It was enough.
It was enough.
He was a weirdo. So, he told him to get out because he was so annoying that he couldn't do his work. He looked at me in a very weird way that gave me the creeps. Just then, Mom asked him if she could use the toilet that was in the room. "Oh, sorry, ma'am. This isn't a restroom. It's a room we keep old stuff." He was sweating and his hands were shaking. "See the news?" Aunt called my mom. "Did you see the news?" She told us that she saw a dentist who had killed a woman in her late 20s, and he was keeping her in his clinic's bathroom for almost a week. And there he was. It was the same man who had checked my tooth. That explained his weird behavior and why he didn't let my mom use the bathroom. Anyway, and from my experience,
house. But as soon as I opened the front door and entered inside, I screamed. 2 people without arms and legs were sitting at the living room table. I was so surprised that I thought I had seen an illusion or something. When I came back to my senses, I could clearly see the dead bodies. Being shocked, my body couldn't move at all. There was also a note on the table which said, "Please take care of their meals." I could see there was toy tableware and some food on the table. Just then, I remembered what he said to me. His children couldn't eat by themselves. My legs were shaking, and I looked around the house. There was a chill in the air, and a disgusting stench pierced my nose. I don't know why, but next, I walked towards the refrigerator. I should have just run away at the time.
I grew up in what people would consider a bad household. My mom and dad were in a bad relationship, and they did nothing but argue every day. My mom would complain that my dad would stick in the basement almost every day and never spend any time with me. And my dad would always have the same response, that he's doing research down there. The only problem was that we were prohibited from going down to the basement. 3 locks were built into the basement door, and he kept his one key on his old key ring. And that same day when I came home from school, Dad suddenly told me she left us for another man. He seemed truly broken and sunk in his misery. So I tried pretending to be normal at first, but I couldn't stop crying like a baby when I finally got back in my room. After a few months of emotional breakdowns, my dad finally got over it. Furthermore, he started to visit the basement more consistently to the point where I would feel like I lived alone. I kept thinking my dad was working very hard, since I saw him being very distraught after coming upstairs from the basement. I thought everything was fine, until I started hearing noises at night for work. So I just shook it off, assuming that he was watching some horror movie down there, or if I was just imagining the whole thing. I went back to my room. As it was the weekend, I was ready to catch up on some Saturday morning cartoons. I was confused about who would file a missing person report for her, because my grandparents both died in a tragic car accident years ago. She had no siblings, and my dad told me she left us for another man. What was that? Austin asked, being confused.
I don't know.
I don't know. My dad does some kind of experiments down there. It's probably a rat or something. Austin looked amused. No, dude, we can't go down there. My dad said so. Then he asked for something to drink, so I went to the kitchen to get some juice for him. However, I was hit with a foul odor of something rotting as soon as I arrived in the kitchen. I looked around to see what could be the cause of the smell, and I found that the basement door was cracked open. I went to close it, but the curiosity got the best of me. So I called Austin to help me investigate. We darted down the stairs to the basement, clenching our noses at that horrible smell. It was dark until Austin found a light switch and quickly flicked it on. However, we had to regret our decision instantly after we saw the inside of the basement. There were people hanging from hooks with random limbs missing. As we were standing in horror, Austin clenched my shirt strongly. I could see the piles of feces and human remains contained within certain sections of the room. But the most disturbing and disgusting sight of all was the cage in the dark right corner of the room. The inside of it seemed to be a person sleeping at first, but as it looked up, I quickly realized that thing was not a person. What is that? Austin shouted, shaking with fear. I ignored his question. To be more specific, I couldn't answer. That thing was indescribably frightening. It looked like a deformed human with its mouth filled with crooked and ragged teeth covering a majority of its face. Its face pointed outward with creases where the nose should be. The eyes were bulging out of its head as it fixated its glance toward Austin and me. Then it started clawing at the iron bars of the cage with its needle-like hands. I sat there in horror until Austin grabbed my wrist. We ran up the stairs scrambling for the escape and shut the door. After I made sure it was perfectly locked, I saw Austin sitting on the carpet floor with his knees to his chest. Once we had a few moments of silence, I then finally realized what really happened to my mom and those missing people in our town. At that instant, Austin muttered like this. Your dad, he was feeding those people to that thing. Now, what should I do now?